All right, to discuss, we're joined by former Women's Rugby League player and transgender woman Caroline Late. Caroline, good to see you again. Thanks for coming in. I'm sorry about all this discourse that's going on about this. It feels like everyone's talking about the community rather than to the community, so thanks for coming in. What's your take on Basketball Australia's actions here?
Yeah, look, I mean, thanks for having me, David and Jane, but I think they're with Basketball Australia, they're going by a case-by-case basis, so at least they're on board with that. So I'm not sure where Lexi's at in her transition process. Back in the day when I was playing sport, we had to go through a certain process where we'd, the Harry Benjamin guidelines, where we'd have 2 years going through transition and then we'd have our surgery. So now it's a lot more muddy. So I'm not saying Basketball Australia's done the wrong thing because I don't know where Lexi's at in her transition. But surely, yeah, it looks like they've had a good process there. So I can't comment whether she should have been included or not because she might not have qualified for that period. So it would be nice to know, for us to know.
Well,
yeah.
Well, that's part of the problem, isn't it? Basketball Australia hasn't said what their criteria was to form the basis for this decision. Why do you think they haven't done that, and do you think they should?
Well, I think they should. I think everyone should know, you know, and it's sort of become, it's just too muddied. So many people can just comment on this and say, well, you know, she hasn't done this and she hasn't done that. At least if we know where Lexi's at her process and, you know, with her application, then we'd know whether she should be able to play or whether she needs more time, you know, to transition further, and whether then she would be eligible.
And this brings down to one of the core arguments that I see happening a lot, and I wanted to ask you on this, and that is the situation that, you know, you played at an elite level of rugby league in Australia after transitioning, and there's this discussion of the advantage that trans players have over players who are born women and stay women all the way through their lives. So what is your take on that? I don't know where to sit on that and how what we're missing from this argument.
Yeah, look, we're not all the same as transgender people. We've got non-binary, we've got you know, people that are people that don't have the surgery, and pre-surgery, and then there's ones post-surgery. Now, if you're a post-surgery woman, I've had the surgery, then you don't have any reproductive organs to make any testosterone. So I'm at the stage now where I actually have to have testosterone put into my system. Right. Otherwise, I'm very low level testosterone, I feel dead and this and that. So it's like about a 6-year period window for a trans, 6 to 10 year window, and then you will lose all that testosterone. Now,
so there's no physical advantage. Let's say you've been transitioning. Since a lot of people nowadays, a lot of these kids are transitioning from their teens. They're transitioning pre-teens, teens. They're going through it with their families. They're not going to have advantages in their 20s physically over, let's say, women in sport. Yeah.
Well, the problem is what's happening now is they're transitioning and they're going straight into women's sport.
Right.
See? When we did it, and okay, I'm an old fuddy-duddy. When we did it.
Back in your day.
Back in my day, 15 years ago, I played Origin, women's Origin, but we stepped away. And then we did the transition and all that, and then we came back to it. But now it's all changed. That people don't step away and they go straight into it like Hannah Mounsey and Leah Thomas, and that's where all this big debates come from.
So I read an article you had written about this sort of issue previously, where you said nobody is saying we're going to transition one day and play the next. Yeah. What kind of? I mean, I know it's a case-by-case basis, but what sort of timeframe do you think there needs to be in order for the playing field to be as level as it can be?
I think 2-year period is good, the old Harry Benjamin guidelines, which I did. And then I think, okay, if someone's got... and having the surgery is a personal choice, right? It doesn't make you male or female, it's all up here. But in saying that, you know, as far as it doesn't make you female, but if someone doesn't have the surgery, then they really need to be monitored with their testosterone levels because they're still producing testosterone naturally. If you've had the surgery, you're not producing it anymore. So you're within... I used to be very... I came back as a master sprinter. I was a good sprinter when I was younger. I was competitive at the start. Now I come last in everything. It's no use me running anything.
Right, it does give you an advantage. Look, just quickly, because we do have to go, but the frustration I think about this and where I think the damage is happening to parts of the community is that we just don't have any examples. I've not seen an example of any sports person that's gone in as a trans player in any of this stuff yet that we can go, OK, now we're seeing clear indications of what it is. Like, we're just not there yet. No. But we're just assuming this is what it is.
Yeah, well, I think people on the far right are assuming that you know, we're all one fit for all champions, you know,
Yeah.
and we haven't...
Expecting Michael Jordan in a dress.
Exactly, Michael
Right.
Jordan in a dress. I don't look like Michael Jordan in a dress. I'm not
No.
as tall as Michael Jordan, you know. But, you know, it's yeah, I think that's the thing. And there is a feminising process when we do go through that transition and all that. And I think that's what's not being respected, because they're calling us biological males, male-bodied and this and that. And, but yeah, I still think community sport doesn't matter, but when it comes to elite sport, there needs to be clear guidelines, and we're just not getting them at the moment.
Right, perfect.
So,
Caroline, thank you so much.
thank you,
so much,
David.
Great to have your insight.
Let's bring in Olympic gold medalist and all-round swimming legend Kate Campbell on the Gold Coast.
Hey, Kate.
Hey, Kate, how you doing? It's so good to have you with us.